Good morning. Welcome. A lot of chatter this morning. Must be a great day. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Amherst. I am Lorraine Marcus, and my pronouns are she, her. We are so glad you have chosen to be here, virtually and in person. Our minister, Reverend Michelle Buhite, is on sabbatical leave through August. Services during this time will include guest speakers from near and far and assistance from a sabbatical team throughout, thoughtfully assembled by Reverend Michelle, and even more assistance from our tech crew, our greeters, weavers, ushers, musicians, and coffee makers who seek to create a safe and inviting space for all who enter this sanctuary of UU Amherst. There are a few announcements this morning. The UU Church of Akron, Ohio is starting a ministry to assist women who are seeking abortions in Buffalo. They are asking for a point person from each Western New York congregation that UU Akron can reach out to. Talk to me if you would be interested in becoming that point person for our church. Also, during coffee hour today, garden sign making materials are available in the Emerson's room for those willing to help us get to know the flora friends that grace our grounds. See Marge Marcille, Marge, over there, if you would like to participate. As we gather, we acknowledge that our church is built on land that was once nurtured and cherished by the First Nations people of this region, the Haudenosaunee, and the people known as the Neutrals before them. May we continue to tend this cherished land and courageously cultivate community with all living things. It has been said that Unitarian Universalism is the religion that puts its faith in you, trusting each individual to engage in the spiritual journey and to reach our own conclusions about spiritual matters. We do that in beloved community as we support one another in faith and friendship. In that spirit, this congregation has created a covenant, a sacred promise to how we will strive to be with one another. Please join me in speaking our covenant. Together we promise to gather in compassionate community, to celebrate diversity of thought and unity of spirit, to seek wholeness for ourselves, our children, and our world. We begin each gathering by lighting the chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism. Our flaming chalice represents the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of our commitment to foster more compassion and justice in a hurting world. Please join me in speaking the words. We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We gather this beacon of hope, this God's truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together. Each of us carries with us into this worship time cares and concerns, joys and sorrows. Together we create the container where we can put down our burdens, knowing they are held gently by this gathered community. For those joining virtually, I invite you to give voice to that which is on your heart or perhaps type it into the chat in the live stream. For those here in the chapel, I invite you to come forward and place a stone or a shell on the table labyrinth in recognition of that which is on your heart. We light a candle for the families of Buffalo, Uvalde, Highland Park, the people and communities of Ukraine and Russia, the women who no longer have the right to choose, and the foreshadowing this has on the rights of others. Indeed, we light this candle for all of the human and more than human family of life on earth. May we recommit ourselves to the work of love.
May I be filled with loving kindness.
Our guest speaker this morning is Reverend Susan Frawley. She is an Amherst resident who works as the pastor for the Hamburg Unitarian Universalist Church. Reverend Frawley also does circuit pulpit supply for Western New York. She currently works as a legal assistant for the Center for Elder Law and Justice. Reverend Sue Frawley.
Thank you. That's the first time anybody's ever applauded before I even gave a sermon, so sweet on you. And good morning, and it's my privilege to be in your pulpit this morning. And in this moment, I make a call to be present, and I share with you the writings of author Chip Rouse, who is an often contributor to UUA World. This is entitled, Be Here in This Moment. We are about to enter sacred time. We are about to make this time and this place sacred by our presence and intention. Please turn off or silence your phones, and as you do so, I invite you also to turn down the volume on your fears, to remove your masks, this was written before COVID, and to loosen the armor around your hearts. Now, don't take my word for it. Do it as slowly as you need to. If you take a little risk with these good people, you may find that they have the same human needs that you do. Breathe. Let go of the expectations placed on you by others and those they taught you to place on yourself. Drop the guilt and shame, not to shirk accountability, but in honest expectation of the possibility of forgiveness. Let go of the thing you said the other day. Let go of the thing you dread next week. Be here in this moment. Breathe here. Our opening words this morning come from philosopher Blaise Pascal, who said, "In difficult times, carry something beautiful in your heart." I also had to add to this, from the First UU Church of San Jose, from their monthly newsletter, they wrote this piece. In June, the UUA theme was nurturing beauty, and so this goes along with that. This month's theme, nurturing beauty, reminds us humans that we are more than just passive admirers or recipients of beauty. We have an active, mutual relationship with all that's beautiful, whether the beauty lies in things, experiences, people, places, ideas, or whatever you find beautiful. If nurture means to care for and encourage the growth and development of, then when we nurture beauty, we become its partner, drawing it out, helping it to unfurl, much as a gardener loves attention, making it possible for their plants to thrive. In return, we receive the life-giving energy, encouragement, and sustenance that beauty provides. So our story for all ages today is called Knock Knock, Who Is There? Trust me, it's not a long knock-knock joke. So Raccoon was living in the forest, and it was a rainy, rainy night full of storming rain and weather and lots of lightning, and Raccoon was scared. They did not want to be alone in their own space, so they went searching. They first went to Owl's home and said, "Owl, Owl, the weather is horrible and frightening. May I come in?" And Owl said, "Oh, Raccoon, you're too big for my space, and you're all wet. I can't have that in my space. You're going to make everything wet. No, no, no." Disappointed, but yet still looking for a space to go into, Raccoon went on. And Raccoon went to Squirrel's house and said, "Squirrel, it is raining and I am afraid. May I please come into your space?" And Squirrel said, "Oh, you are too big for my space. You would break everything. I can't have that. No, no, no." And still disappointed, Raccoon walked on and went to Rabbit's house. and said, "Oh, dear friend rabbit, I know I'm big, I know I'm wet, but it is so storming and so scary out. Could I please come into your space?" And Rabbit said, "Of course you can. There's always room and welcome for friends." And as Raccoon went into Rabbit's house, he noticed that the little rabbits were dancing about, and there was warm drink and food and lots of joyousness. And of course, just after Raccoon came in, there were knocks at the door. And it was Owl and Squirrel saying, "Oh, friend Rabbit, it is so bad outside. Can we come in?" And Raccoon looked at Rabbit, and Rabbit looked at Raccoon, and they both said together, "Yes, come in. There's always room for friends." And thus is our Time for All Ages story. So I'm going to share with you something that is probably outside of what your normal order of service is, and this is the spiritual practice moment. And it is where the theme from the UUA that many churches follow speaks from a reading. Of course, for July there is no theme, but I'm going to go back to the one of nurturing beauty because it allows me to read an essay, actually a small poem, that comes from our beloved Mary Oliver, who was not a UU, but we own her as our own, so we'll take it. This is entitled "Coming Home." When we are driving in the dark on the long road to Provincetown, when we are weary, when the buildings and the scrub pines lose their familiar look, I imagine us rising from the speeding car. I imagine us seeing everything from another place, the top of one of the pale dunes, or the deep and nameless fields of the sea. And what we see is a world that cannot cherish us, but which we cherish. And what we see is our life, moving like that along the dark edges of everything. Headlights sweeping the blackness, believing in 1,000 fragile and unprovable things. Looking out for sorrow, slowing down for happiness, making all the right turns down to the thumping barriers to the sea, the swirling waves, the narrow streets, the houses, the past, the future, the doorway that belongs to you and me. And now we're going to hear some music from Max Goldhirsch. Welcome, shalom, aloha, namaste, benvenuti, welcome. All are ways to say welcome. Welcome. As a word, it's a noun, it's a verb, it's an adjective, and it can be a way of living. Shelby Krusak, an internet blogger, writes of welcome as this: smiles, laughter, and math. What do these three things have in common? It is said that all three are universal languages that cross culture, social, and linguistic divides around the world. Despite our differences, a contagious smile, the gift of laughter, and the infamous search for X can remind us of our shared humanity. In the time that it took for me to read this paragraph above, 7 people around the world were displaced from their homes. In the midst of the worst global displacement crisis in history, it is more important than ever to create local, welcoming environments for new neighbors. Now, there are several ways to match your time, your energy, and talents to meet the needs of refugees and immigrants all across the world. Through the various avenues, you may find a unique opportunity to invite a refugee into the social fabric of your life and your community. The word welcome is an invitation, a greeting, with a warm, active connotation of hospitality. To welcome someone is to invite them into a shared space, whether it's a city, an organization, a social circle, an event, or even a home. Showing compassion through welcoming and befriending a new neighbor is arguably another common language that we can all speak, if we try. As UUs, we like to say that our churches are welcoming and affirming places. And usually this has been said in relation to LGBTQ plus individuals. But let's expand that a little bit. Let's be welcoming to families with small children, those who are challenged mentally, physically, and emotionally, as well as those who are economically insecure, who hold different ideas and thoughts than us. To welcome in a living way is more about us, you and me, than it is really about others. When we individually welcome what the universe brings to our door, or what we find on our travels, we are definitely nurturing beauty, even in its ugliest forms. Ugly? Beauty? Well, that doesn't sound right. Well, we as UUs we very often do a thing of holding and both. So even something that one may think is ugly has a beauty in its own existence. And to welcome the knowledge and experience, then that is to live in a welcome mode. Now, some welcomes are not easy. All of us in all the different churches, we've been talking about the affront of violence and death that has been welcomed into our consciousness as we contemplate actions and deeds to address that. The welcome is not always a happy greeting, but an acknowledgement of the feelings and the lessons and reactions that come from a visitor, even if it's a visitor that wasn't initially welcome or wanted. I'm still getting used to using technology as I'm reading and scrolling. To truly live in welcome means to be attuned to all that is present and will present itself. It means to think about the inherent worth and dignity before we might discount an ugly beauty caller. It is said that there are 6 ways to make others feel welcome. I don't know the author, but this is what they said. Don't always sit by the same people. Include others in conversations and activities. Build on common interests. Give sincere compliments. And if there's something unique about a person, be interested in it respectfully instead of avoiding it. The Reverend David Chapman wrote a slight piece on sanctuary of the soul, and I think these words are very appropriate here as well. To those of you who are visitors for the first time, thank you again for being with us. If you are lonely, here you will find warm companionship. Here in this sanctuary of hope, you can find a new seat at the table of life and feast yourself on love and fellowship. And you will not hunger for the touch of a human hand or an embrace of your searching spirit. If you are afraid or you have been abused, if you ache with fatigue here, you will find rest. You will be comforted, and your spiritual wounds will be dressed, and your courage will be returned to you. You will be led beside the still waters, and your soul will be restored. If you seek to understand, here you will be encouraged in your search. Wonderful pathways will be lit unto you, and wherever your journeys take you, you will know that you can always come home again to this place, made sacred by our love for you. This is a sanctuary of the soul. There are no boundaries in this cathedral of hope. The collective wisdom of all humankind and our painful but glorious history are open to you here. Your heart and your mind need never struggle with one another, ever, in a Unitarian Universalist congregation. We have no fear of science. We have no fear of knowledge here. And if someday you decide to join us, you may feel what I felt in the words of author Dorothy Lee Sayers. All my life I have been wandering in the dark, but now I have found your hearts and I am satisfied. And what do all the great words come to in the end but that? I love you, I am at rest with you, and I have come home. And that ends Reverend Chapman's essay. Reverend Erica Hewitt, a UU minister, also wrote about welcome. Some of us are bringing our best selves to this space, and some of us are bringing our struggling selves, including pieces we might be ashamed of. All of us are welcome here, and all of us are loved. Some of us already have open hearts. Some of us aren't quite there yet, because our hearts have gotten a little beat up this week, and we might have forgotten how to trust and to be open. Your heart is welcome here, no matter how bruised. We welcome you among us. All of us are imperfect, but we're here to drop our defenses and trust that what happens in worship is powerful and life-giving. Together we affirm that this day and our being together can make each of us braver, more compassionate, and wiser than when we woke up this morning. And that ends Reverend Erica Hewitt's words. We welcome all of you, who you are, what you bring. You are welcome and you are home. And that concludes the sermon.
And before I was even finished, he started speaking up. And of course, the people in the congregation were aghast. Oh my God, don't listen to him. He's an old curmudgeon. And I said, no, it's okay. Let him speak. And he had wonderful things to say. He didn't agree with me, but what he said was very interesting. I loved the challenge, which of course then other people started speaking up. And so ever since I've been a minister, I've used talkback. And what this is your opportunity to speak on the theme and topic of today. I'm but a guest here. This is your congregation, your community, and your voice is probably more important than my voice up here. So here's your opportunity to talk back. If you raise your hand, Lorraine will bring you a microphone, and I invite and encourage you to speak in any way about what you're thinking about this morning's sermon topic.
I'm Linda Grote. Hi. It's funny that I thank you for asking what I thought, because in my mind, as you said, one of the things you can do to make people feel welcome is to move your seat. And Eric and I have sat in the same seats for about, 22 years, perhaps, somewhere around between 19 and 22. And, well, we did sit there for a little while. But anyway, we decided we would move over to these softer seats because Joan suggested maybe we could have a softer seat. And it actually was a little bit painful for me. And I think that's really interesting because welcoming is hugely part of who I am. And, all of you, I love you. But I didn't ever see moving my seat as a thing. So I even, I don't even know, Eric and I talked about it, but he likes the window because he can see the creatures outside and he really enjoys that. So my kids like the back because then they could go and come and not be seen. So it's puzzling. You know, where you sit is really important to your identity in the building. So anyway, don't be surprised if one day you find me sitting next to you because I'm thinking I'm going to be moving my seat here and there. So,
I like when you said that the UU Church is a sanctuary for the soul. A friend of mine who is Catholic said, "This is nothing like a church to me. What is it?" And now I have an answer. Thank you.
Reverend Susan, I really appreciate your joyous that you brought to us this morning. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Phil, and I am indeed joyful to share your thoughts on welcome. As a musician, welcome is kind of my profession as well. I'm always inviting people to join me either musically or vocally, and everybody, no matter how wretched they may be, has at least one good song in them, and I always look for that. And this community has always been good for me as a musician and as a human being. Thank you for softening my heart.
Yeah, just recently, a commentator made the observation that a common denominator with most of these perpetrators of these mass shootings is their feeling alone, just no contact with others, and that seems to be a common trait, and in line with what you were proposing this morning of just being more welcoming. And it was a case where it's apparently not what they were experiencing. And that's it.
Thank you for, there we go. Thank you for raising up that idea. You're absolutely right. But others, please do share.
Reverend Frawley, I agree with all the comments that have previously been made. And I want to make two comments. First of all, it's something I really need to work at, being present. Even when I walked in here, it took me probably minutes to just settle myself down. So thank you for reminding the importance of being present. And second of all, I liked what you said about getting to make yourself available to people with dignity and respect. And if you sense that they perhaps are a little different or uncomfortable, the value of maybe one simple personal inquiry. And I think that's something that we really need to remember. It's not being invasive, it's being kind. Again, if you do it with dignity and respect. So I applaud those two thoughts that seem to be really important to me this morning. So thank you for letting me share.
I'm Eileen McAllister, and I want to thank this young man for his wonderful playing for us today.
I'm so happy to be here, Sue, with you, and thanks for bringing Max. Wow. It was serendipitous that I even came. I did not know you would be here, and very happy to share space with you in person instead of just on Facebook.
So, hi, I'm Mike, and this is Kendra. Sorry, I forgot how to talk at this. I just want to thank all of you for welcoming us to the church. So I've really felt welcomed here. And, you know, when I greeted you coming in, I said, hi, how are you? And going to, I think that was last week's sermon was, you know, when I say that, I mean that. And I know that every one of you means that as well. So, you know, we've shared stories, and I'm always saying too much, so I try to limit that. But, you know, I like to talk. So, you know, I appreciate feeling welcomed here. And I appreciate, going into last week that when I hear the question, how are you, I know that you're listening. So thank you.
Sue, I'm so grateful for you being here. You've opened a lot of doors for all of us. I want to go home and listen to your speech all over again. And I hope that you will come back in the fall when we have a full church. Thank you so much, and thank you for bringing your great son.
My pleasure. Well, thank you for your thoughts and for opening things to me. And I will be back here in August. I don't remember the exact date, but with wonderful smiling faces like yours and kind thoughts, it's a pleasure to be here. So thank you. Thank you.
I'm Marcia Gunther, and I have been very interested in the sign outside that is going to be put up. And lots of people wonder if the sign is really going to make an impact on the congregation, the size, and who is interested in coming and joining us. And I was thinking on the way that it's, from my point of view, it's not so much that people would come here to visit, but to know that this place exists. Because I don't think that there's a big acknowledgement that a UU congregation is here. And I think that having a sign, visual, very out there, is a way to welcome people to UU, not necessarily to this congregation at 10:30, but to the fact that there is a UU presence in Western New York, besides the downtown and I guess East Aurora and Niagara Falls, but and Hamburg. But coming from a Lutheran church, many years ago, I was looking and I missed the beginning of my service, and I was driving down Main Street to go to the other Lutheran church in that direction, and I passed this congregation's, and the sign said 10:30, and it fit. So that's how I started. It's just because the sign said 10:30, and I made it.
I love that story. Thank you so much for sharing that. And you're right. UUism is one of the best kept secrets, and if we all just pledge not to keep it secret, in Hamburg we talk about ministry on the block, and I encourage people, I really mean that, talk with your neighbors, tell them about what you believe or think. It affects not only just for faith, but in some of these challenging aspects where we're looking at racism, we're looking at homophobia, we're looking at the challenge on women's rights, just having a conversation safely. I don't want any of you to get in the unsafe space, but that's part of it. So thank you for raising that up. And I love that 10:30 was the key for you. That is awesome. It's one of the best stories I've heard in a long time. Thank you so much for sharing.
I'm going to piggyback on that and something that Grace said, that that sign is really important. And what that sign says is going to communicate huge amounts to whoever is going to be out there. And I don't know if didn't think of the 10:30 like so big, but the most important thing, I think, is what we call ourselves. And I've been wanting to have an opportunity to talk to people about that and not seeing exactly when. But my feeling is very strong that we should not have the word church in our sign. I don't know how everybody feels about that, but I'm just going to throw it out there, is that I think it's a very off-putting thing for many, many people that are looking for something that is not the kind of church that they had. What I think that we are more is a community, and in some ways we're a co-op, and that's what we do. We work together to make a community that's accessible and welcoming to everyone, and I want to know if you would be willing to consider in your mind what you think it is and what you want it to say, because we have an obligation to know it before the sign goes up, and I think that it's coming soon, and we don't want to put the wrong thing on it, because we want to welcome people that want to be part of a community. The definition of community is interaction among the people, and the definition of church is, and I've looked this up, is a Christ-based organization. So it's our opportunity to be able to make change, and obviously the sign carries a lot of weight and a lot of money, a very huge price tag. We want to get it right. So.
All very good, and one more. Go ahead, one more voice in the back.
My name's Joe. Thank you for a wonderful talk. The responses have really and interchange has really gotten me sort of thinking, and I really have not formed my thoughts very well. But one thing I just realized is that we are a welcoming church. One of the main missions is the social justice. But one of the things I realize is that you can't legislate welcomeness. You just can't. And it seems the things that are extremely important, you can't legislate. And the thing is, it would be nice to be known as the welcoming church, a welcoming church. And I was thinking, even though you can't legislate it, it does set the stage. It sets the stage for discussion. It sets the stage for discussions of social justice. So the way the stage is arranged is extremely important. And perhaps it's time that we, or I, at least start to think a little bit more about how to be known as a welcoming individual and a welcoming church. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. And thank you all for your sharing and for your contributions. It's important, and just watching all of you interacting and listening to each other's comments, but there's something more. When you do that, you minister to me, and for that, I am extremely grateful, and I thank you for that. For the closing words I want to share with you, it's a abbreviated piece from author Og Mandino. Welcome every morning with a smile. Look on the new day as another special gift from your Creator, another golden opportunity to complete what you were unable to finish yesterday. Be a self-starter. Let your first hour set the theme of success and positive action that is certain to echo through your entire day. Today will never happen again. Don't waste it with a false start or no start at all. You were not born to fail. These are the words of Og Mandino.
Thank you for joining our gathering today. I hope you have been inspired and uplifted by sharing this time together. You can support the work and mission of this congregation with your financial contributions. For those in our chapel today, you will find baskets at the back to receive your gift. For those participating virtually, I invite you to take a moment to visit our website, uuamherst.org, and click on the giving link or text your gift to 833-987-1968. Please join me as we extinguish our chalice with these familiar words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our heart until we are together again.
Travel light and travel easy, till I see you once again. Travel light and travel easy,
Postlude by Max Goldhirsch. We do not have much time to gladden the hearts of those who travel this way with us, so be swift to love and make haste to be kind. Go in peace.